Hey, what's going on, troops? Dit Commando here. My name's Ryan, and I'm a former Royal Marines Commando from the United Kingdom. And today we're going to be reacting to why the Pentagon is releasing UFO information in 6 months. So I've had a lot of people asking me to react on alien stuff and all of that kind of thing, and I get a lot of questions asked to me on a daily basis, actually, from Americans. Do I believe in aliens and all that kind of thing? So I thought, you know what? Why not react to this video? It's just came up. Infographics has just released it. I think it's going to be a rather fitting one, guys, for this. So before we get into it, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and let's just get straight into it. Yeah, enjoy.
There's something strange in the skies over the Earth, operating from the Southeast Pacific to the Middle East, and even here in the American homeland. The United States military has encountered unexplained aerial phenomenon that even its best fighters and air defense systems have failed to identify or bring down. Now the United States Congress, in a historically unprecedented move, is demanding answers from the Department of Defense. What exactly is in our skies? UFOs and military involvement is nothing new, with the American military swept right into controversy when an unidentified object crashed into a rancher's land in Roswell, New Mexico back in 1947. The crashed item would without question turn out to be a specialized weather balloon, but perhaps fearing the leaking of information on a very sensitive and top-secret program to monitor Soviet nuclear tests, Public Information Officer Walter Haut made the blunder of the century when he dictated a press release that the Army had discovered a crashed flying disc. This massive blunder would go on to entangle the U.S. military with UFOs for decades to come. An ardent
Right, so that's where it all started from then. Is that where Area 51 kind of originated from? Something that they kind of had to backtrack and tell a few fibs on, but now they have to stick with that story as a result? I wonder, if you know any better, let me know in the comments, troops.
believers to this day still hold on to the belief that there really was an alien disc at Roswell, despite the rancher who had discovered the item reporting that he discovered wreckage made of, quote, rubber strips, tinfoil, paper, and sticks. He'd only start thinking about UFOs when he heard one of the many popular flying disc stories at the time. Other details, including bodies and material with magical properties, would all end up being reported secondhand. Nonetheless, while Roswell may have been a top-secret weather balloon, Americans were definitely seeing strange things in the sky. In 1952, a series of highly publicized UFO incidents over Washington, D.C. led to growing national paranoia, fueled by the highly misleading facts propagated by national newspaper chains. With fear over UFOs reaching a fever pitch, the U.S. government consolidated several investigations into one single program codenamed Project Blue Book. This investigation would run until December 17, 1969, when the program was canceled after not discovering any credible threat to the United States of America. While Project Blue Book found that people were terrible eyewitnesses and that nearly all sightings could be explained by misidentification or natural
I like how he's put that, while people are terrible eyewitnesses, that actually the only eyewitness you could get is from a person, although you could get it from animals, but that wouldn't be much use. But yeah, it just goes to show Chinese whispers, as we would say. Someone could see something, and you know, the imagination's a strange one. If you can't really make sense of something, your brain will find a way to make sense of that situation, and it might even put a few little bits of information in your brain that wasn't there to kind of cover and bridge the gap. Okay, it's just the way we are as human beings, guys. Okay, so a lot of these stories, I don't know, yeah, I think a lot of them have a lot of room to be manufactured into something that they weren't originally.
phenomenon. The final report did admit that a small percentage of sightings were both impossible to explain and had credible witnesses. Despite this and the growing sightings of UFOs in sensitive military sites, such as nuclear weapons storage depots and ICBM fields, the official investigation was over. Then in 2020, because seriously, when else would this have happened? The doors on the UFO phenomenon were blown open once more by the shocking admission of the United States military that its fighter aircraft had indeed tracked unidentified aerial phenomenon. In a massive blow to the conspiracy theorists who claim the US government actively hides evidence of UFOs, the Department of Defense declassified 3 different videos of UFOs being investigated by American fighters.
Wow.
This was followed by the announcement that the Navy was installing formal guidelines for its pilots to report encounters with UFOs. All the press attention also revealed the existence of a then classified program run by the Department of Defense between 2007 and 2012 meant to study unidentified aerial phenomenon. The head of this classified program would himself go on to say the following about his findings. These aircraft, we'll call them aircraft, are displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory, nor in any.
So what he's been very diplomatic in how he's explained that. He's saying it's characteristics unknown to us or any foreign inventory that we're aware of. That we are aware of is the main thing to take understanding of here. Now, guess what? The United States military will, I guarantee, have military aircraft characteristics and such of thereof that we have no idea exists. Okay, technologies that we would never guess. So maybe that doesn't necessarily prove that it's aliens, but to be fair, America is at the forefront of military innovation. So if they haven't got that characteristic in some of their technological advanced aircrafts, then I highly doubt any other military has capabilities that exceed that of the United States. What do you think about that, though, guys? Do you think that is possible?
Any foreign inventory that we are aware of. Once more, adding fuel to the UFO fire was the revelation that in 2019, U.S. senators received a classified briefing on UFOs by Navy leadership, with the spokesman for the Deputy Chief of Naval Operations stating Navy officials did indeed meet with interested congressional members and staffers to provide a classified brief on efforts to understand and identify these threats to the safety and security of our aviators, painting the UFO phenomenon as a concern to the safety of pilots. The statement may have inadvertently admitted that something was in fact being encountered by American military and civilian pilots, even if it necessarily isn't of alien origin. Given that the US recently confirmed it had already flown a prototype 6th-generation fighter aircraft, we can only imagine that part of the reason so many of these UFO investigations have remained classified is because of the need to maintain secrecy around extremely sensitive weapon systems being tested by the US military, some of which have likely been spotted by civilians who no doubt thought they were looking at alien aircraft, similar to the way that the flight tests of the B-2 bomber and F-117 during the 80s led to an.
Yeah, I agree. I think just because that technology isn't out there, some of the technologies that probably do exist, if it came out in a test run and humans seen it for the first time, we would be pretty scared at that capability. Okay, we'd be like, whoa, what on earth? I've just seen an unidentified flying object, and actual fact it already exists. It's technology, and it's not meant to be out in the public domain because it's not yet released as a military weapon system. So I do think a lot of these conspiracy theories have a potential to exist for that reason alone. Okay, it's just not meant to be out there.
Avalanche of UFO reports. Yet it seems that the American Congress is not satisfied with the answers it's received so far, and now it's official. The American military has 180 days from the start of 2021 to give a detailed and complete disclosure on the UFO phenomenon. For conspiracy theorists everywhere, it's time to rejoice, as the congressional mandate dictates that the report must be unclassified and thus available to the public. The report instructs various intelligence agencies and the military to analyze in detail UFO data and intelligence gathered by the Office of Naval Intelligence and now defunct Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force and the FBI. UFO reports are actually nothing new, with curious congressmen and women occasionally tucking in provisions for mandatory briefs on the phenomenon into funding bills. Yet this report is different, as it's the most comprehensive gathering of interagency data on UFOs since Project Blue Book. It also formally establishes an interagency process to both gather and analyze future unidentified aerial phenomenon and report on these findings to the federal government. The report also mandates that any potential threats to national security posed by UFOs should be identified and calls on the American intelligence community to assess whether any potential foreign adversary, such as China or Russia, are behind the UFO phenomenon.
Yeah, I think they need to take a stance on, well, if it is unidentified, why? We want a reason why it's unidentified, and we need to make this object identified, and this information needs to be publicly available so that conspiracy theorists don't get an opportunity to, one, go crazy on their theories, and two, have the truth portrayed to them, So I think these reports might actually work in both ways. They might actually confirm UFOs are a real thing, that we don't know what's going on out there, and there's things that need more explanation. Or two, it might confirm that, it's actually not UFOs, it's military ordnance that's being used and is yet to be given to the public in terms of its whereabouts and its knowing that it's been invented, you know. So this technology might actually be secret, so to speak. So, but I think that report will be a good thing in the future. I'm looking forward to that coming out.
Before you get your hopes too high, though, while the report's mandated to be unclassified and thus accessible to the public, Congress approved the inclusion of a classified annex. This doesn't necessarily mean that any specific information on UFOs is being kept secret, but rather is a necessary measure for such a comprehensive report to be possible in the first place. Such a detailed report on UFOs is going to include highly classified details, such as intelligence sources in foreign governments and the testing and capabilities of next-generation weapon systems, which may have led to UFO sightings themselves. It will no doubt also include highly classified details of America's most sophisticated tracking systems, all information the US would not want its adversaries to get their hands on. This report certainly comes at an auspicious time, with, in late 2020, the former head of the Israeli space program publicly announcing that the US and Israeli governments were in cooperation with extraterrestrials. The statement, coming from such a highly placed government official and credible witness, was sadly largely lost on a public completely focused on COVID-19 and an explosive presidential election. For believers in our visitation by aliens from outer space, though, these two almost back-to-back developments signal at a greater plan to slowly indoctrinate the public to the reality that UFOs are real and aliens have been visiting us for decades. We just have to be prepared for the formal announcement by the slow disclosure of evidence to their existence.
Now that makes sense. Throughout history, we've had to have, the public's had to have drips and drabs of information given to it in order to make us feel a little bit safer in that knowledge, okay? Imagine if we suddenly found out now, as a world globally, that, for instance, UFOs was real. People would go panicking straight away. There'd be looting, riots, there'd be anarchy, there'd be loads of crazy stuff occurring, guys. So, yeah, you know, we've got to release that information in drips and drabs, and I understand that, okay? So the fact that he's actually mentioned that does make me think in 6 months' time we might be getting some information that we thought we weren't actually going to be getting, guys, okay? Maybe these aliens are real.
If that's true, then there's going to come a pretty big blow to the poor nerds who've been wasting their time poring over boring computer data over at Breakthrough Listen, the multi-million-dollar privately funded program that's focused on eavesdropping on the electronic signals of alien life out in the universe. Now that we're pretty sure aliens are here, learn how to protect the Earth with...
There we go. I keep on playing, missing the buttons on these scenes, guys. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about this whole thing then? I think that I don't know, is the United States, have they got military kit and equipment that's secret? Yeah, every country has. Are they going to want to release that? No, of course not. Do UFOs exist? I'm still none the wiser, guys, if I'm absolutely honest with you. But it's going to be interesting, that information coming out in 6 months' time, I tell you. I'm gonna be definitely keeping an eye on that one, guys. If you are too, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you in the next one. If you got any comments, drop them below, and I'll try and get back to you. Peace and love.